All right, y'all, we back. This is a disclaimer. Read it up there. We do not condone violence and the use of drugs. That being said, let this begin. Hold on, let me get some light for y'all, man. Dark in there. My bad. Thought I had that light on for y'all, my good peeps. What's going on, my hood of stories? What's up, man? Hey, we back. We back. Man, y'all got to get me to these 1,000 subs, man. Like, come on, let's get these 1,000 subs. This we're doing hood TV, man, hood movie. This is about I think this the blood. Yeah. This is the New Jersey's deadliest gang, man. This first blood that Trishnam brought them down. Trishnam brought these bloods to New Jersey. That being said, let's let it begin. Hey man, we need 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 subs.
2 in Butler, register number 26852-050, age 46, located at Pittsburgh RRM, release date August 13th, 2027, Federal Bureau of Prisons, public record. Look it up yourself. The man who ran the first blood said on the East Coast, who took a collection of...
Man, y'all hit that like button. Y'all just came in there. Hit that like button. Stop low riding on me, man. Hit that like and make sure y'all subscribe. Hit that sub button. Subscribe to the
broke street crews in one of the most forgotten cities in New Jersey and turned them into something the United States government, compared to La Cosa Nostra, is 2 years from walking out. He went in at 27. He comes out in his late 40s, nearly half his life behind federal walls. And while he was in there, he wrote 2 books, because that's who Tuhan Massacre Butler is. The government is still moving him from facility to facility because they're scared of what happens when he talks. The set he led, still being federally indicted in 2025, 32 years after it started. This is Hood Archives. Today, we're going to East Orange, New Jersey, what the people there call Illtown, home of the double I.
If you got hit, even if you were not driving, you need to try this.
Because if you were in a...
It's cool. I got you.
East Orange, New Jersey, 4 square miles, 65,000 people. Do that math real quick. That's one of the densest small cities in America, where everybody knows everybody's block, everybody's cousin, and everybody's business. The people there don't call it East Orange. They call it Illtown. And that name is not a coincidence. It's a declaration. It's what you call a place when the official name doesn't capture what it actually is to live there. Ill, raw, real, a city with its own identity that the rest of Jersey never gave it credit for. Now here's the thing about Illtown that the news never tells you right. By the early 1990s, this city was in freefall. Not just poverty, not just crime, a full systemic collapse, and the numbers to prove it. Those numbers came from Jose Cordero himself, the former NYPD commander brought in specifically to take over the East Orange Police Department. When he arrived, he described violent crime rates multiple times that of New York City and Detroit combined. And here's the detail I want you to hold. That same Jose Cordero is named in the federal indictment press release against the Double I Bloods the following year. The man brought in to clean up the city is documented in the same government papers as the prosecution of the gang the city produced. That's the city the Double I was born into. And what happened next, nobody could have written, because the Double I didn't start the way most people think it started. It wasn't a Chicago transplant. It wasn't a prison export. It started with a rap group coming home from tour, and it started in 1993. By 1993, Naughty by Nature were not a local secret. They were international. OPP had gone platinum. Hip Hop Hooray had Spike Lee directing the video and cameos from Eazy-E and Run DMC, tours across Europe and Japan, Grammy nominations, Tretch, Vin Rock, DJ KG, 3 kids from East Orange Campus High School who had made it out, or at least made it out in the way the music industry means when it says that. That summer, coming back from a West Coast leg of their tour, they returned to Illtown with 2 men from Inglewood, California, who had served as their road crew and bodyguards. Street names, Love and True, Queen Street Bloods, what the feds would later document as the QSBG, Queen Street Bloods Gang, out of Inglewood. Now here's where I need you to slow down with me, because Treach has talked about this himself. On Camera, Drink Champs, episode 389, November 2023. He was not being cagey. He said it plain. We didn't go to Cali looking for Bloods, Crips, or anything. We just wanted a West Coast group. They could have been from the Bay or anything, but the Road Dogs just so happened to be from Inglewood, and they was Dahmers. So when they came back, they just told stories in the hood.
Now listen, to all you foolish, I almost cuss. I'm trying not to cuss in my videos no more. To all you foolish folks that say that you're not a real Blood or a real Crip if you're not from California, they just told you right there. Prime example of how them Bloods got up there in Jersey. They came back with Treach. 2 Bloods came back with Treach to Jersey, and they started telling stories and putting brothers on with Blood Gang. That's the same thing all over the world. So for y'all to say, oh, because you're not from California, you're not a real Blood or a Crip, yes, you are. If your homeboys was put on by somebody who came from California to Texas or whatever city or state and put y'all on with Blood or Crip, that's how you became a Blood or Crip. That's how it traveled. So y'all foolish ass folks who keep saying that you're not a real Blood or a real Crip because you're not from California, shut up and take 2 seats in the back. With that being said, let's go hit that like button, man. I'm dropping
and everything else. So that's
jewels.
why everybody always say Double I, Inglewood, Illtown was the first set on the East Coast with original West Coast backing. Read that back. They went looking for rap acts, not Blood members. The people they came back with just happened to be Dahmers. And when those men told stories about Inglewood, about what they were from, what they represented, the young people of East Orange were listening like it was scripture. That's the origin, not a corporate franchise expansion, not a deliberate gang export, an accident of music, touring, and proximity that turned into 30 years of federal prosecutions. From that foundation, the crews who had already been running things in East Orange on their own terms, several local organizations unified under the new banner. The Gutter Rats, the Drama Lords, the Steel Click Crew, the Chain Gang. Different sets, different histories, same streets. They consolidated and chose a name that said everything you needed to know. Double I, 2 I's, Inglewood, Illtown, pronounced Double I, not a coincidence, a declaration encoded in geography. The exact same summer, 1993, the United Bloods Nation was being founded inside a cell at Rikers Island. Omar Porti, known as OG Mac, and Leonard McKenzie created the UBN on July 16, 1993, originally as a prison gang to protect black inmates from the dominant Hispanic factions. From that one cell, it spread to the streets of New York, then up and down the entire East Coast. 2 blood structures, born the same summer, completely independent of each other. One formed in a prison cell, one formed because a Grammy-nominated rap group went on tour. They would eventually align. But right now, in that summer, what mattered was that Illtown had something it had never had before, a name, a code, and real West Coast backing. And Naughty by Nature never fully stepped away from the association. They launched Illtown Records in the mid-90s. In 2002, Treach and Vin Rock released their album as a duo and titled it I Icons, 2 I's, double I, right there on the cover of a record in every music store in America. Most people bought it without knowing what they were holding.
52 years old. Last month, I caught my wife crying in the bathroom because I couldn't get hard in bed. She wouldn't even look at me
you got
anymore.
problems, brother.
We're basically roommates now. So I tried everything. Rhino 6.
There was a teenager in East Orange who understood exactly what all of this meant. His name was Tuan Butler, and he was about to be offered a way out of Illtown that most people in his position would have taken without blinking. He said no. Chu and Butler grew up on the border of East Orange and Newark, deep in Illtown. By all accounts, he was not supposed to end up where he ended up. Standout student athlete, charismatic in a way that made people listen, the kind of person who had options. At 16 years old, Quincy Jones's Quest Records put a record deal on the table. Quincy Jones, the man who produced Michael Jackson, one of the most powerful figures in the history of the music industry, saw something in this kid from Illtown and extended his hand. Butler said no, walked away from the deal, and he went all in. He would become the 101 of the Double I set, Blood's parlance for the leader. And the hierarchy he ran was documented line by line in the federal indictment because it was that structured. OG at the top, Butler at 101, 102, second in command, 103, Minister of Defense, 104, Minister of Information, 105, Quadri Trouble Smith, 5-star general, all the way down to 110, the baby gangster, also called the blood drop. That is not a corner crew, that is an org chart. And United States Attorney Chris Christie said as much in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee in September 2003. The Double I's are highly structured, methodically disciplined, and extremely.
Now just look, man, this little dude, man, look, man, he was smart. He was on top of his gang banging, man. He turned that money down from Quincy Jones to control his set, and that's what he did, man. And he got all that money. Quincy Jones put a $250,000 on the table, and boy turned it down because he wanted to run that
violent.
That's close.
His office, working with Rutgers University
as
the official research partner, had identified.
Put in the comments, would y'all turn that $250,000 down, or would y'all took the $250,000 and left it set alone? And my gang banging day, I probably would to the industry.
Identified the Double I Bloods as the largest and most violent street gang in Jersey, not the city, the state. Here's what gets lost in how these stories usually get told. Butler wrote of his own life inside federal prison. 2 books. His memoir opens with, "I share in this book my past in the hope that you recognize it is our future." He wrote that from a special management unit beyond maximum security, 23 hours alone per day, 1 phone call a month. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for Chu and Butler. Just know who you're dealing with before we go further. A 16-year-old who had a way out and didn't take it. Now let's talk about what he ran. East Orange was divided into drug distribution zones. Dealers who wanted to operate in those zones paid a block tax to Double I leadership. Heroin was the engine. Large quantities sourced from New York City, transported to East Orange, broken down and pushed on the streets by a workforce large enough that Butler and Smith had to create shifts, actual shifts, like a job, because that's what it was. Now here's where it gets genuinely cinematic, and I mean that in the most literal sense, because the Attorney General of the United States held a press conference about this. The gun pipeline, the hole in the wall gun store, Xenia, Ohio, a small federally licensed firearms shop a few miles from Wilberforce University, a small, historically black college in Greene County. According to federal indictments, students and former students at Wilberforce were recruited as straw buyers. They walked in.
So a straw buyer is somebody who secondhand purchases. So a straw buyer would be like, if I had the bread and I couldn't buy it, so I go get my sister to buy it for me in her name. That's a straw purchase. So I get my baby mama to buy it in her name. That's what she give it to me. That's a straw purchase. The niggas had a gun. Them boys had a gun ring going down there. They were getting out of college students to go get the guns. They break them off $150, $200 or something. They go in there and buy whatever kind of heat they want. They're gonna say it and they're gonna get 70 guns.
To the hole in the wall, filled out the paperwork in their own names, and purchased weapons that were then moved out of Ohio and handed off to the Double I in New Jersey. Approximately 76 guns total
76.
made that trip. The owner of the shop, James Dillard, was charged alongside Quadri Smith in December 2003.
As he should be. He don't care. He just
Attorney
wants to look
General
at you.
John Ashcroft stood at a podium and announced the case, calling it the first time federal charges had been brought in one state against a licensed gun dealer in another state for a gun-running conspiracy. Of those 76 weapons that were recovered by law enforcement, every single one had been used in a crime. Every one. Shootings, drug trafficking,
every gun
carried by convicted felons.
They say every gun had been linked to a crime, was carried by convicted felons and put in work. Boy, say that's cold.
These weren't guns sitting in a safe somewhere. They were in the streets immediately, doing exactly what the people who ordered them needed them to do. Smith admitted in court that he purchased dozens of weapons through this pipeline, including semi-automatic assault rifles, dozens, through college students in Ohio. Back in East Orange, the Double I was also consuming itself from the inside.
Hi, my name is Tami, and I would like to give you a few reasons why you should consider dating.
The United Bloods Nation ran on a strict no-snitching code, 31 rules governing member behavior, with cooperation with law enforcement sitting at the absolute top of the prohibited list.
I was going to end it, but this is a good
In
one.
their code, if you were suspected of talking, even suspected, not proven, you were labeled food. And what that meant was that force against you was authorized. Christie described a recent case to the Senate. A member suspected of cooperating had been attacked with a razor in a prison commons area just for being suspected, not confirmed, suspected. Here's what I think about when I hear that. Paranoia is not a protection strategy. Paranoia is a liability, because every internal killing the Double I carried out left a trail. Ballistics, witnesses, fear, more people willing to talk because the violence had touched them directly. The code designed to protect the organization was quietly building the prosecution's case for them. Long before the feds made their move, the Double I was writing its own indictment through the bodies it left behind when it turned on itself. By October 2004, Christie's office had charged and jailed 42 Double I members in 18 months. He stood up and said, "We are using the gang's sophistication against them. They organized themselves as the mafia did decades earlier. The same racketeering statutes that brought down the mob will bring down these gangs." And he was right. Whether that should make you feel good depends entirely on what you think justice looks like. September 21st, 2006, 5 members of the Double I Bloods stood in a federal courtroom in New Jersey and entered guilty pleas. Not because the feds had a weak case, because the feds had 76 guns, an Ohio gun shop owner, an embedded informant, and enough bodies in the indictment to bury every single one of them under the weight of the evidence. These are not allegations. What follows are admissions, men speaking to a federal judge on the record in their own words. Tuen Massacre Butler, the 101 of the Double I, took his turn before the judge. He admitted to approaching a man named Thompson from behind, covering his face and shooting him, killing him at close range. Then he said this, "I was the chain of command. There is no one above me." Quadri Troublesmith, 5-star general, the 105, stood up next and said, "I was the chain of command." His admission: on April 29th, 2000, he shot and killed Bryant Williams, known as Dirty O, in a dispute over money. He also confirmed in open court that he had acquired dozens of weapons through the Ohio pipeline, including semi-automatic assault rifles. Samir Moses, 22 years old, admitted that on April 17th, 2004, he and other Double I members were driving through East Orange when they spotted who they believed to be Crips gang members. They opened fire. Moses got out of the car with a gun and shot 16-year-old Anthony Copeland. Copeland died from his wounds, 16 years old. Amir Wynn admitted to hunting down a man named Laquan Brooks. a father who had complained to Double I members that they were bothering his 8-year-old son. In Blood's parlance, that made Brooks guilty of disrespecting them. Wynn found Brooks, called him into the street, and shot him. Laquan Brooks died where he stood. His 8-year-old son was there to see it. On April 18, 2007, United States District Judge Catherine S. Hayden imposed sentences that told you exactly what the federal government thought of what it had uncovered. Tuin Massacre Butler, 27 years old at sentencing, 30 years. Quadri Trouble Smith, 26 years old, 30 years. Samir Moses, 22 years old, 28 years. Amir Wynn, 24 years old, 34 years, the longest of the group, for the murder of a man who was protecting his child, 66 counts, 2 RICO charges, 35 racketeering acts. I'm not going to sit here and editorialize this. I don't have to. The math speaks for itself. Butler was 27 when the judge gave him 30 years. That means he doesn't even see the outside world again until he's 57, if he serves it straight. And at the same time, the people who died are still dead.
Right.
The father who begged them to leave his 8-year-old is still gone. Those facts don't balance each other out. They just sit there in the same story.
Northern Tool and Equipment. Get serious.
At the same time, the man who prosecuted Tuin Butler, who built the case that sent him and his co-defendants to federal prison for decades, who stood at podiums comparing the Double I to the mafia and calling it one of his top priorities from the moment he took office. That man was Christopher James Christie, United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey, appointed by George W. Bush in 2002. In 2009, Christie ran for governor of New Jersey. He won. He ran on his prosecution record, convicting more than 130 public officials and criminal defendants without losing a case. The Double I prosecution was part of the foundation of that record. He served as governor of New Jersey from 2010 to 2018. He ran for president of the United States in 2016. He ran again in 2024. Now, here is Tuin Butler in 2012, 5 years into his 30-year sentence. He's in the special management unit of a United States penitentiary, beyond maximum security, confined 23 hours per day, 1 phone call a month, 1 family visit by teleconference per month. He is being transferred from USP Lewisburg in Pennsylvania to USP Pollock in rural central Louisiana, a high security facility so remote and volatile that shortly after Butler's arrival, the entire prison went on lockdown following inmate violence, meaning 24-hour cell confinement, 0 visits. He is writing a memoir from inside that cell, and in that memoir's published description, Butler names Christie by name. He describes himself as having been prosecuted by then U.S. Attorney and New Jersey's current governor, Christopher J. Christie. He wrote that from solitary. He could see exactly what trajectory his prosecutor's life had taken while his own was suspended in a federal cage. I'm not saying Christie did anything wrong by prosecuting a violent criminal enterprise. I'm genuinely not. The Double I was responsible for murders, for flooding East Orange with heroin, for arming themselves through a pipeline of straw buyers at an Ohio.
All right, y'all, we're gonna leave that one there, man. These dudes wasn't playing, man. These dudes was raw. They was getting to the money. You see why he turned down that 250,000? That wasn't nothing compared to what he was making in the streets. He was gonna make that $250,000 anyway, regardless. So, you know, that being said, man, it's just another hood true crime, man. Hood time with this movie. True crime hood movie time, man. with my hood historians, man. I just be trying to find y'all something different y'all ain't seen, man. That's why I be wanting y'all to hit that like and subscribe button, man. I be looking out for my folks, man. My hood historians. With that being said, we're gonna get up out of here. That's over on Hood Archives at the same.